Why do so many people earn more but never feel free? Throughout my 12 years in finance, I used to see this all the time where I'd speak to work colleagues, and whether they were earning 50K or they were someone a lot more senior earning 250K, they both seemed to have the same set of problems. They felt stuck. And that's because the real difference isn't income, it's habits. So in this video, I want to share what I think is the real difference between the habits that keep people stuck and the habits that actually create wealth and freedom, and why freedom, not appearances, is the real goal. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Pav. I'm a chartered accountant who spent over a decade working in finance in London before leaving that career and taking a 30% pay cut to do a job I enjoy instead, and that's given me a lot more freedom and choice. I think there's a real difference between wanting to look rich and actually wanting to be rich. And we don't actually realize how much of our spending is driven by what other people think and wanting to look successful and fit in front of others, whether that's family, friends, work colleagues, or even just strangers. And sometimes it's in the obvious things like buying a bigger house, upgrading your car, buying designer clothes, or fancy gadgets. But it can also show up in small, subtle ways without us even realizing. In those small things that feel harmless, like buying a new outfit for an event you've got coming up when you could just wear something perfectly fine that you've already got, or feeling the pressure to go to nicer lunch spots with your work colleagues when really you'd prefer to just eat the food that you've brought from home. All because you want to fit in and feel like you need to maintain some kind of external appearance. And I know because I've done it myself. In my early 20s, working in finance, I had the designer clothes, the nice suits, bought the nice car, the fancy dinners, and on the outside, I looked like I was successful. But inside, I felt completely trapped and like I had no freedom. And the turning point for me came one Monday morning where I had a panic attack and I couldn't face going into work. But I realized that I had no choice. I had to go in. And it was in that moment that I realized how trapped I really was. And it was then that I decided that I don't want to feel that way anymore. And I started to look at money differently. And instead of spending my money to maintain a certain image, I began making more intentional choices with my money to give myself some more options. And over time, that is what created more freedom. Because that's the real difference between those who are wealthy and those who are not. It's not necessarily just about their net worth or how much money they have in the bank. It's that they have options, and they value having those options over keeping up appearances. Because options are what give you freedom. The freedom to say no to a terrible boss, or work less hours, or spend more time with your kids, or take a lower paying job that you're actually going to enjoy, which is what I did. And that is why wealthy people will keep their lifestyle the same for a very long time, no matter how much their income increases. And instead of trying to keep up appearances, they will buy back their time, invest in assets, develop skills, and make choices intentionally that are going to create more options for themselves, rather than trying to maintain a certain image and look a certain way in front of other people. But having options and freedom starts with knowing what you want in the first place. Because the truth is, if you don't know what you want, then life will decide for you. And that will show up in your finances. Your money will just drift into what everybody around you is doing, whether that's buying a bigger house, a new car, or getting stuck in the endless cycle of upgrades. And you'll end up chasing other people's goals rather than your own. And it's that lack of clarity that keeps people feeling trapped. So that's why the first step isn't actually about money. It's about knowing what you want. Is it more time with your kids, or the ability to cut back on work, or just the peace of mind of knowing that you've got savings behind you, or that your financial future is being taken care of through investments? Or is it a change of career? It doesn't matter what it is. What does matter is that you know what it is, because once you know, you have clarity and you have a goal that you can start working towards. And then the second step is taking responsibility. And rather than blaming circumstances and everything that's going on around them and having a victim mindset, wealthy people focus on what they can control, which is their choices around how they're spending their time and how they're spending their money. And one principle I live by is that I get to choose my hard. And what I mean by that is, no matter how hard something feels in the moment, I know that there is always something that's going to be harder. For example, when I was building my property portfolio to help me get out of my career in finance, that meant saying no to social events, not seeing family and friends so I could go and view houses and check in on projects, or just stay at home to learn as much as I could. And that felt hard at the time, and sometimes I was lonely. But I knew that staying in a career which I wasn't enjoying and I felt trapped was even harder. And it was saying yes to the first hard that gave me freedom from the second. But there's also a quiet confidence that comes with not caring what anybody else thinks or needing to impress anyone, and knowing that you are spending in line with your values and just focusing on what matters most to you. Truly wealthy people aren't playing the game of status. They know that if you go down that route, no matter how much you have, it will never be enough, because there will always be somebody who has more than you, and so you'll never win. Instead, they focus on building a life that is right for them, however they've defined that for themselves, and making intentional choices rather than just being on autopilot. And it's that combination of being intentional alongside having clarity that helps you achieve long-lasting freedom. And a question I always ask myself when I'm thinking about a little treat or buying something a little extravagant to challenge myself on my intentions is, will I still want this if nobody else saw it? Because whilst appearances look good, having options feels much, much better. And it's those options that give you freedom. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe, and you may want to check out this video where I talk through the 6 habits that help you build a life of freedom and peace of mind, and I'll leave the link for that here.